Hello ladies, gentlemen, and Gothamites. My name is Emily Sophia, and I'm going to be breaking down for you guys Season 1, Episode 5 of Gotham Vipers. So, spoiler alert before we dive into the mad thick of things, as I will be bearing all in this review, and without further ado, let's kick it, shall we? So, I must first say that I liked this week's episode a little bit more than I did last week's, namely because we didn't have the stupid villain of the week plague. At least, I mean, there was sort of a villain of the week, but what was cool was that this guy was tied into something that is a critical part of the overarching DC universe, that being the super addictive, strength enhancing, super steroid Venom. So it was cool to see how they used characters this week, the developments that we had in the mob, in the power struggle for Arkham and Gotham. As a whole, it was pretty well done. There are still some things that could be beefed up a little bit, but I did enjoy what this week had to offer. So first and foremost, talking about Venom and, well, its prototype, Viper, in the show. So for those of you who are not familiar with Venom's presence in the rest of the Batman universe, so at first, I never read, I'm not really familiar with the Batman comics very much, but I know that Venom was first developed by, I think in the original storyline, it was made by a doctor who wanted to prove himself superior to other scientists, and he made a sort of form of Venom that was actually intellect enhancing, and that version of the drug hasn't really been explored as much, but later on that drug becomes a power source for Bane in the comics, who is a super strong foe of Batman's. And Bane later works himself away from the drug, weans himself off of it, and recovers from from the addiction, making himself strong enough to combat Batman himself, not without the aid of the drug. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of different stories. The movies, the video games, the comics, they all kind of have different origins for the drug. Different representations of it, who it affects, who uses it, what it does. There have even been stories where Batman himself becomes addicted to the drug or affected by it. I'm most familiar with its presence in the Arkham games, like Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, where there is actually an even more intense version of Venom. So it's first is Viper. Viper's the prototype that we saw in the show. Venom is the more typical form, and then there's Titan, which is like I said, a stronger form of the drug that is used by the Joker in his attempt to take over Gotham, and that has it has a major influence on the plot of both the Arkham Asylum and Arkham City games, and a presence even in Arkham Origins. So lots of interesting stuff. It even makes an appearance in The Dark Knight Rises, which, although The Dark Knight Rises is a very different take on the Batman universe, and thus, if Venom had any kind of presence at all, it was in the form of Bane using it in his face mask to keep him alive, and also to make him more or less invincible in physical combat. So that's a little bit of background about Venom. So what we see in the show is the corruption of the Wayne Foundation after the death of Bruce's parents. The decisions that are made with the subsidiaries of Wayne Enterprises after these two key figureheads are out of the picture, the degradation starts. So Stan is the guy he's passing out Viper on the streets to random innocent people, and he's trying to demonstrate the absolute, the horrific nature of this drug as it is being developed to create super soldiers, and then of course he's angry that the Wayne Foundation and Wellsine have partnered together to to create this drug, although the Waynes were not for it. So he, his motives make a lot more sense than the motives of even previous villains that we've seen in the show so far, and it all has a major tie-in with, of course, the corruption of the political and social power system of Gotham. As initially Stan wants to make his message known through the poor and impoverished and marginalized of the society, and then he decides to instead go straight to the top, going to the Wayne's charity ball and attempting to infect everyone present there, all these leaders and politicians, with the drug to show just what they have wrought. And yeah, so I think that was very interestingly done, and I enjoyed that a lot. The Penguin continues to be the spotlight stealer, of course. He is freaking rocking his role and is definitely ascending up the social ladder, and he takes a great step forward in actually revealing to Sal Maroni that he used to be Fish Mooney's guy, and then, funny story, tried to have him offed. And so he's, like he says, this isn't his first rodeo. He hasn't simply ascended from dishwasher to crime lord. You know, he's got experience in this world, but of course this experience could potentially make him a huge liability for Maroni's camp. But he discovers via Gordon that the story that the Penguin reveals is the one that actually occurred. And so this further entrenches Gordon in the crime world, and now not only is he indebted to the Penguin, but also to one of the major crime bosses of Gotham. Not exactly a pleasant position to be in, and I think it's going to spell out a lot of problems for Gordon as he tries to enact justice and do what's right for the city, and at once not get his ass handed to him on a silver platter. Okay, so I also have to say that the Penguin's hairstyle, he's totally got this, like, this emo rock band thing going on, and I really his style cracks me up. Still waiting on the monocle and the umbrellas, ladies and gentlemen. If you know anything about the Penguin and his umbrellas, well, it's kind of an important part of his character. But at this point, so he's trying to make himself known. He's trying to give Maroni just enough to trust him and invest in him. And he is going to flip the tables as soon as he gets the chance. Not as many capricious murders on the part of the Penguin in this episode, which is a bit of a relief. He's kind of been he's been on a roll of late. He needs to take a breather and do a bit to advance his job performance. But so that's all exciting and interesting, and we get to see a little more about what's happening on the Falcone side of the spectrum. And really the only problem with Falcone that we really see in the show itself is the fact that he's old and soft, and he doesn't want to take those aggressive strides forward like everyone who's working underneath him wants to. Hence kind of this coup that Fish Mooney is staging as she hopes to take his place, because really there's a bit too much subtlety to his approach. Even though they've sustained this huge loss and the Maronis they're definitely getting more power, more territory, he doesn't want to react yet, and he wants to kind of sit back and to keep what they've got. But at this point, Maroni he's making he is going for it, and Falcone is not demonstrating a desire to act as viciously as Maroni's group is willing to. So Fish Mooney kind of has an alliance with one of Falcone's henchmen. They both want to topple the old king, this old and faded Ozymandias who really isn't making a dent in the system anymore. So we're gonna see how that works out. But what's currently bugging me about Fish Mooney is she's a very contradictory character. She says earlier on in the season that she wants to take Falcone down with her bare hands and her teeth. I cannot forget the way that Jada Pinkett Smith said that. The way that she delivers all of her lines, it's very disconcerting. But so she's got this visceral need to take him out and do it herself. But then when she's betting the henchman guy and they're, you know, enjoying the pillow talk of how they're gonna take out their boss, she says that they need to move softly and via her secret weapon, this girl who she's training to seduce Falcone, to sing his favorite aria, to dress how he likes, to be everything that he could want. So the question is this girl a step in the plan to take him out, or is she part of the end game? Because if Mooney really wants to take this guy down the way that she wants to, then this girl is gonna get in the way. So it's a little bit confusing at this point, but I think that the writers of the show want us to ask those questions and to see what exactly Fish Mooney has in mind. Because she's recruiting more and more people in this battle that seems to be for her deeply personal. But we shall see how it all goes down. The episode ends with a pleasant little park date between Falcone and what's her face in her lacy white attire, and they're enjoying a bit of music together. And it almost makes you feel kind of bad for Falcone, because yeah, he really is old and soft. He seems more like an old man than than anything else. And that's kind of the tragedy of it all, is he's perhaps losing his edge and is going to be taken out in a far more violent way than his present actions and stance seem to necessitate. So there's that. We also get some interesting developments with young Bruce Wayne, Lil Wayne, and Alfred, he's trying to build a normal life for Bruce, who is very much busy with trying to understand the socio-political system of Gotham. And what's interesting is that he skips right over the desire for to avenge his parents, and he begins with wanting to know, what is the system? What did my parents do? What is their foundation currently doing? Because eventually he's going to be the CEO of that corporation. He wants to know how it works, so he can enact good in the world. And then, you know, with a little bit of vigilantism in the mix. That is to come. But yeah, still so strange that this kid is so freaking on top of the game and doing his homework like a mother brother. It's a little bit strange. He's still so young and what seems so far away from actually being Batman. But clearly he's already the best detective in the business. And Alfred eventually kind of concedes and decides to step in and help Bruce, especially after this attack on the Wayne Foundation company higher-ups, all the managers and everybody, that was caused by the illicit involvement of the Wayne Foundation in these programs that are harmful to human beings, and all these things that interconnect. But yeah, Bruce, he ain't got time for all that kid stuff. He grew up overnight, and I'm very curious to see exactly where his character is going to go and how the writers are going to pull back on the reins of Batmanism. You know, because he is destined. He is well on his way, and at this point I don't see anything on the horizon that's going to stop him from that, you know. So, yeah, I'm trying to think of what else I'm missing. Oh, it was nice to not have to deal with Barbara this week. I'm sorry, but I still have a bit of a grudge against that woman. A little bit on the frustrated side. I'm not having it. We got to see a little teensy bit of Selena Kyle this week. And yet again, she evades the grasp of Gordon, who has given her the benefit of a doubt quite a few times. And also we got another fun appearance by the Riddler. My favorite line of the episode, was so he's standing over the utter chaos of the GCPD as the cops are taking in all of these sufferers of the Viper drug. Everyone is going crazy and it's a freaking free-for-all. He just stands there up on the balcony high above all the action and just like I can't replicate the way that he says it, but he's like, fascinating or whatever. Like, it was so, oh man. Mr. Nigma, you shall not be in the shadows for long, that's for sure. I want to see him and the Penguin team up. I'm just saying, I'm looking forward to that. It's inevitably coming on down the line somewhere. Because he's an incredible asset to the GCPD, but at the same time, he's got this morbid curiosity and this proclivity for he loves to see this destruction and to understand it, not necessarily to prevent it, just to see how it all works, and that's kind of the guy he is. Yeah, if there's anything else that I missed, please address it in the comics, or in the comments. We could make a comic out of our comments, I guess, something like that. Yeah, but really what I most enjoyed about this episode was its focus on this crazy power struggle and where everybody stands, and everybody's kind of getting pulled into this vortex. Some are maintaining their place therein, like the Penguin. He took a serious gambit in telling Morrissey his past, but now that's become one of his greatest assets, is Morrissey knows that he knows the nature of the game. But I think especially since Morrissey insisted that the Penguin suits Mr. Cobblepot, oh, he's definitely going down. They might have been bros in another future life, but not no more. Anybody who insists on calling the Penguin is on his naughty list. He shall not be taking Mr. Sal under his wing once the time comes that he is living large and in charge. And again, I look forward to that. It's great. He's got this crazy anxious energy that is at once fueled by this. He knows the way that things work, and just such a funny and fascinating character. Gordon continues to grapple with all the insanity around him. We haven't seen him and Bruce interact with one another recently, but I'm sure that's going to come in the future. Now, next week, are we going to get the Scarecrow? Is that who I'm seeing, or is this a different kind of figure? I have no idea, but things are getting interesting. I'm still waiting on Zaz. I'm just saying that that is what I'm currently banking on, but yeah, so everybody's laying their cards down. It will be fascinating to see where all this goes and who's on what side and who's going to get the upper hand by the end. I predict that the Penguin is going to mercilessly slaughter everybody. I mean, with the way that things are moving and the pacing, I could totally see him coming out on top even by the end of the season, but there's still so many characters yet to introduce that even that crazy development doesn't necessarily take away from the show's ability to create interesting plots, to develop Gotham and what's going to happen to Arkham. When is the Arkham Asylum going to come about? All remains yet to be seen. But yeah, a very fun episode, very promising and redeeming, as we've had some bleak points in recent history. But yeah, I continue to try to be optimistic even when I struggle with the corniness of things. I think that we're headed in a very fascinating direction. So thank you guys so much for watching my review. You are fantastic. Leave your comments and I shall reply as soon as I can. And I do assure you that I will be back before you know it. Take care, guys.